The sun is always shining bright. People are smiling, making plans, hiding behind their shades, and you're doing the same.
Over the past few weeks, I have fallen deeply in love with the flowers and nature around me. I find that spending more time outside has made me really excited to go back inside to my studio and to create things from the beauty that's around us. Our world is beautiful, and the main inspiration out there is what's around us. I became inspired by the flowers in my garden, my father's flowers, and the flowers that cultivate the land of the earth. I wanted to capture snapshots and moments of the flowers blooming, and I wanted to create them as Polaroids, taking beautiful, documented memories of these flowers and putting them in a modern way to use creatively in our journals. The Polaroids are already decorated for you. Stitching, decorative tape, some of them have sentiments on them. You can journal on them, or tuck them into pockets, tuck spots, or give them to your friends who need a little pick-me-up by a flower. I wanted to also create Polaroids with beautiful floral wallpaper. You can cut out the white space in the center and just have the frame, or you can collage on top of the frame. You can layer them on top of vintage paper, and for all of my vintage girls out there, I wanted to create a more neutral, subdued color palette where you can also play around with scrapbook paper to cover up the white space for your Polaroids, or you can use them with your own photographs. It's a wonderful nostalgic feeling of seeing these Polaroids in our journals. You can alter them, put sentiments inside of the frames, turn them into journaling cards. I like to use the papers that I recently created that I think went really well with the collection. A set of floral papers that remind me of having a picnic in the park. I was inspired by the flowers outside, and I drew the flowers that make me happy. I used one of the floral papers to fill in one of my vintage Polaroids to give it a little bit more of a whimsical feel. And I also created a set of vintage papers. They are perfect for those of you who love more of an antique effect. The color palette, the designs, I wanted to capture a whimsy feel to vintage papers and vintage receipts so that it becomes a joy to use them in your projects and for your journals. The first project that we're going to be making are some Bloom Polaroid packets. You will need to have a couple of Polaroids, either real ones from your own photographs, altered ones from the Polaroid printables that you can decorate with scrapbook paper, or some really pretty floral ones from the Bloom Polaroid set. Regardless of what Polaroid or picture you're using, this project will work perfectly. You just need a piece of paper, and you want to fold it along the edges of the photo size that you're going to be including in your packet. Once you have all of your edges folded, you want to take your scissors and cut away the corners so that you can easily fold them. Make sure to trim any excess paper that you don't need, and feel free to use any adhesive of your choice to close up your little packet so that you can use it in your journals or to store special ephemera and trinkets in. To make it a little bit more special, I'm going to grab a little bit of lace and some twine to create a layered little effect on top using some vintage ledger paper, one of my Bloom Polaroid printables, tying it up with some twine, and it makes it feel like it's a beautiful and special parcel. I like to take a little snippet of some dried weeds from my garden. They just look so adorable, and it looks as if it's growing from the Polaroid picture. Decorating and creating Polaroid journaling cards is something that's really simple and easy, but when you package it in a beautiful little parcel that you created using your special papers, it turns it into a treasure. When you are working in your journal or creating special trinkets, I love having a little bundle of papers that I pull from to create my artwork. It instantly inspires you to grab and create when you see all your papers in a little bundle. For the second project, I'm going to be sharing one of my art journal spreads in my Artist in Bloom journal. I'm using some of my Bloom Polaroids to give color into my journal. I am tearing some paper from my vintage paper set, and I'm also applying some gorgeous lace from my collection. I am using the Polaroid wallpaper frames to kind of outline the paper. I want to make sure I don't cover up the cute little icon on the top. Play around with your papers and experiment with using bright colors as well as pastel colors to give a nice contrast. I am using one of the altered Polaroid cards as a journal card that I can write, and finishing off with some washi tape. The third project is creating your own collaged ephemera pieces. Choose a color palette and stick to it so that it's easy to choose your papers. You can use images from book pages, scrapbook paper, vintage papers. Try to have different types of fonts, scripts, designs. I like to cut the pieces down or fold them to have pretty much the same size and store them in a bundle. This way I can use them and have them on my desk. Use your favorite adhesive. I'm using Mod Podge, and as you can see, me and my Mod Podge don't get along that well. Moving into my mini Artist in Bloom junk journal, I am using a brush to apply the glue, and very sporadically I am filling up my pages and pre-decorating the pages, giving a layer of paper before I work on top of the pages. You can also alter old ephemera. This is a really nice postcard that had a creepy image on the back, so I decided to cover it up with some wallpapers and scraps, and it ended up looking as if it belonged in the book. This is another little ephemera piece that I made, recycling a button card from Hobby Lobby. Use your scraps and the papers that you have, stick to a color palette, and create your little paper puzzle. Something that speaks only to you, that represents you and your journal, and all of your ephemera pieces will turn out beautiful and wonderful because they're a representation of your thoughts, your feelings, and your hands working in that moment. Another step that you can do to enhance your ephemera is passing it through a sewing machine. Now, this is completely optional. Sewing lines give an effect of a homemade touch. That is why we all love them. It makes it feel eclectic, gives it a vintage vibe. However, it's not essential. You can fake this effect with a pen, or you can leave it as is. As long as you create something that makes you happy, that's the most important thing. Now, if you want to have some fun and experiment with a little bit of paint, but are a little too shy and don't know how to start, you can take some paper and take a stamp of your choice, add some paint, and stamp the design on top of your paper. It's an easy shortcut to look as if you painted it, yet you really used a stamp. I like to enhance a little bit more by putting some background inking and stamping, and I pulled out some of my watercolors to experiment. I ended enjoying and completely loving my little art piece that I created on my piano paper pocket. I loved it so much that I think I'm going to continue to do this in most of my journals. An elegant look with a really simple and easy technique. Once you have your ephemera and paper treasures made, you then want to put them in your journal. This can be the most fun part or the most challenging. Go with your gut, follow your intention, and if you think a paper belongs on the page, glue it in or attach it with a paper clip and go back to it later. Your journal is your vessel where you are in control of documenting and creating. I really hope that you all loved this video and that it inspired you to create 3 beautiful and simple projects to include in your junk journals. Until next time, I hope your day is filled with a huge abundance of peace and love. I love you all so much, and I will see you very soon.